Hello, historians. Today we are going to be talking about pioneer life in Florida. So I would like you to watch my video. It gives you a little preview on the content. And then go ahead and read through the worksheet and fill in the boxes. Hopefully after watching this video, you'll have a good idea of what to expect. And this will be lickety-split. All right, pioneers. So we are so fortunate to have electricity and houses and Publix and Chipotle and all these different places that are built for our convenience. But in the early 1800s, this wasn't the case in Florida. After Florida became a U.S. territory, a bunch of people, called pioneers, wanted to come in and experience what this Florida was like. So pioneering is a lot like camping. So instead of tents, the pioneers would build log cabins, and they primarily always were farming because they came to this land. They don't have like a Publix or a place to go for food. So they came to this new Florida and started exploring it and harvesting crops and hunting and fishing and setting up settlements here to live. In the early 1800s, life on small farms in Florida was a lot like camping, but instead of pitching a tent, they built log cabins. They brought tools, seeds, farm animals, guns, and other supplies. After Florida became a U.S. territory, American settlers poured into the area. The new settlers were pioneers. A pioneer is the first of non-native people to settle in a region. So for example, what that means is that they did not grow up in this area. They came into it. And it's important to remember that there were certain tribes that were already living in Florida, and the American settlers kind of came in and disrupted their way of living, their culture, their practices. So let's always remember to challenge both sides of the story and see it from both perspectives. So how did pioneers make money, you ask? Well, they did something called cash crops. And cash crops is where you grow something and then sell it to somebody else so that they can have it and eat it. So for example, cash crops is still a thing today because Publix doesn't have its own Publix farm. Walmart doesn't have their own Walmart farm. They buy produce and they contract fruits and vegetables through other farms. So essentially, cash crops are very much, when you go buy an apple, that's a cash crop because Publix has gotten it from someone else to then sell to you. So cash crops is something that is still around today. It's still a thing. And the pioneers did this too. They would harvest their produce and their vegetables and fruits and then would sell it off to other people, and that's how they made a living. All right, so what if you're a child in this pioneer lifestyle? Well, boys learned to hunt, girls learned household chores and sewing from the women. Everybody in a pioneer family worked. They all had a role. Planters. So some of these Florida pioneers were actually very wealthy. They lived on plantations that were like small villages. Plantations often had a flour mill, a blacksmith, and a carpenter shop. So it was like this own little fully functioning town, essentially. In the center of the plantation was the big house. That's where the planter's family lived. Many male family members helped manage the land and crops. Women and girls took care of the family and organized parties. Plantation families also enslaved many African American workers. All right, so wanted to mention here, okay, let's go down here. Unlike enslaved African Americans, the Black Seminole were pioneers who lived in freedom. They had escaped slavery and migrated to Florida. So we have pioneers, we have enslaved African Americans who live on the plantations, and then we have the Black Seminole. Excuse me. Okay. Then we have the Black Seminole. And the Black Seminole were pioneers who lived in freedom. They had escaped slavery and migrated to Florida before it became part of the United States. Like the Seminole, they farmed, hunted, and fished. Over the years, the Black Seminole culture became a mixture of African, Native American, and Spanish traditions. Their language, called Afro-Seminole, used words from African and Native American languages as well as Spanish and English. I think that's really wonderful that they fused all those languages together. So I want you to go ahead and fill in the boxes, and it was great doing this little virtual lesson with you. Have a good day.